The Flash. I needed a Flash. Did rushing out to get a Flash screw me? Well, we'll know soon. So, not way too long ago, I got sent the Reverse Flash Thomas Wayne Batman 2-pack. It's Flashpoint, Flashpoint toys. I love Flashpoint. It is probably my second favorite storyline in all of DC. I enjoyed it. It just hit me right. It felt great. I loved it. But while I loved that Batman, and I liked the Reverse Flash, and they released the 2-pack, and it was just too good to pass up. I was, of course, going to get it. After I got it, and this is a thing I never expected, I've been buying more and more and more and more DC Multiverse. And I think it's because it's expansive and available. It's $20 to $30. You find it all over the place. It's fairly expansive with a lot of characters. Like recently we opened Power Girl. I love Power Girl. I love the JSA. I can easily get a Jay Garrick. I can easily get an Alan Scott. And I can easily get a Wildcat. These are JSA members. I can slowly but surely put together a solid JSA team, and they will be, for the most part, in scale with the other figures on the shelf. I like that. I like when a line is big enough that it can become uniform and I can get a bunch of stuff together and then do real cool photo shoots and whatnot. It's absolutely fantastic. I love it. It's what I'm here for. It's because of that that sometimes we end up investing in lines we didn't necessarily think we would. I bought one or two McFarlane figures, and I didn't necessarily fall in love with them. But then I got 3 or 4, and I wasn't necessarily in love with them. And then I got 4 or 5. And before I knew it, I had an entire shelf of McFarlane figures. And do I regret that? No. In a weird way, I'm happy that I kind of dove in and started getting into it and started procuring more and more and more, and now I have a solid DC shelf, just like I have a solid Marvel shelf. And the reason I like Marvel Legends is for the same argument. It's accessible and it's cheap. Well, that being said, if I'm gonna have a Flashpoint Reverse Flash, I'm gonna have a Flashpoint Batman. I love Flashpoint in general. I don't have a Flash for the shelf. Let's get the Flashpoint Flash. No! See, I went looking for the Flashpoint Flash. And that Build-A-Figure, build yourself the Flashpoint Cyborg. There are areas asking $130 to $200 for that Flash. Not for me. See, one of the arguments I just made was accessible. That is no longer accessible. It has left the realm of what I'm willing to do for a toy line of $20 toys. These are not classic toys. These are not toys that have already hit into the collector's market at high rates. They're just toys that people know people want, and they're hoping to set the idea that these figures are worth $130, $200 or more. They're not. Not to me. Maybe to you? And if so, I'm not going to dog you for having spent that money. Camera's about to die. Let me change the battery. As for me, however, there is a limit I put on modern toys that should be accessible in the market. These are mass-produced modern toys. They are not classic, off-the-shelf, impossible to obtain original He-Man figures or retro anythings. They're modern. I will not exceed a certain price value. Once Flash is costing $130 plus, he's no longer for me. Flashpoint, because I started looking at the Flashes, and Flashpoint was the one that I thought looked the best. I thought he was like the best looking Flash, which kind of bothered me until I saw this. While searching around online, I came across this once or twice, and what was stopping me was I couldn't quite tell from the pictures exactly what I was getting. It seemed promising, but I didn't know 100%. Then, I happened to be at a store, and I walked by this, specifically sitting on the shelf. And I picked it up off the shelf, and I looked it over, and there's only one thing that I'm not a huge fan of. I can't help but notice that his feet are shiny, because he's supposed to be kind of like moving fast, entering the Speed Force. This is supposedly just the Flash Speed Force. He's Speed Force Flash. He's from the McFarlane Digital. Digital what? I don't know. Digital do I care? I certainly don't. I need a Flash. He's wearing the costume that I want. He looks fine. Will his feet bother me to the point where I have made a mistake? That I don't know yet. And the only way I'm gonna know is to open him up. So, let's do that. Okay, here he is. Barry Allen Flash. This is the digital Flash, I guess is what you're supposed to call it. It's Speed Force Flash, okay? That's what I know. So if you're looking to get one, he's one that's still absolutely available. And it is specifically the Flash Speed Force. There it is. This is from the DC Direct. It's the digital. I'm showing it as if I was showing it. There you go. Anyways, my biggest concern were the legs. I won't say that this is necessarily ideal, but I don't hate it either. That's what's going on. They're kind of shiny. So they're made with this kind of plastic that's somewhat see-through, and then they add the sparkles in there and everything so that when he's running, kind of looks like he's tapping into the Speed Force. They're probably supposed to create the illusion that his legs are moving faster than they really are. And then once we get up to the diaper and up, the rest of him is just the regular plastic. And for that part, it's very solid. I thought about buying the SNES Flash, the Justice League Task Force Flash, and then seeing if I could, with nail polish remover, remove the digital effect and use that body. And I would of course have a head that I could flip out if I want to do that for like when he's standing still or something like that. I don't know if I will do that. There's still a very real chance that I will, because I like that Flash body quite a bit. And I like that design. I like that costume. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But for getting a Flash on the shelf, one, he comes with this hood effect right here, which I like quite a bit. His face is solid. I mean, I can buy that that's Barry Allen. That's not bothering me at all. I like it. Even this little subtle thing right here where I kind of have him turned to the side, it looks right. It's selling for me. I'm okay with it. We have this belt right here, which I like this belt design. I like this costume design. Fine Flash symbol right there. All the paint, all the red and everything like that seems perfect. Really, his body seems right. Like, he seems lean, which is good because I prefer my Superman be big, my Batman be a little bigger than Flash, and Flash be kind of lean because he's running, but at the same time, he can't be too small. I think this is striking a very fine. I think this works for me. I think it works very, very well for me. I am curious in general. He comes with all these like effects. They're just like little lightning effects, and it looks like they just kind of wrap around the feet or wherever you want to put them. And then when he's running, he will have lightning effects. That's fine for what it is. I don't feel like it's blowing my mind or anything like that. Let me get these on there for the sake of argument so that we can see them. There, those are, they don't really stick. They're a bit of a pain, in all honesty. And then, of course, these as well. Get it on his arm there. Get it on his arm here, which this one is a little bit tighter looking. I mean, they're just like they're flimsy little things. You just kind of open them up, put them on there. Hopefully they stay. There's that. And then, oh my gosh. And then that fell off. But basically, it would create an effect something like this. I know I'm not exactly showcasing this in the best light, but it's fine. Those don't exactly blow my mind at all. They're not like something that I have to have. I think they're kind of bad effects, if you want the truth of it. And maybe it's just because of the way that they go on, that they don't feel solid, and that kind of bothers me in all honesty. So I'm curious. Let's pop his head. By the way, Flash looks like he can look up better than Superman. There we go. Pop his head. Take the hood piece off. Come up here with the Flash head. Pop that on. That was pretty easy. Bring him back into the camera. There he is. That's Flash. He's looking at you. One could argue he could have had a slightly different expression, but that's not awful. That's just Flash standing there. It doesn't bother me. Seems like it works. Very much you could do like something like this. Like there. I'm not having a problem here. I thought this would bother me more than it does. The longer I'm sitting here, the less it bugs me. And also, I could say that when Barry came back, like in Blackest Night, he was always kind of like pulsing with lightning. So if I kind of play this off as the Barry that came back in Blackest Night, right before Blackest Night, if I play that off as this being that Barry, this doesn't bother me like at all. And then if I get a Wally, it almost helps him to stand out because Barry very much had a kind of a different attachment to the Speed Force than the other ones. And like I can visually see that now. In a way, it's acting as a small sales point here. I don't care for these. But what I wanted specifically was a Barry, and I got it. So like I said, nothing too crazy. It doesn't necessarily blow my mind, but it didn't need to. What it needed to do specifically was be a Flash. It is a Flash. It seems to work. The arms seem fine. His build seems all right. I'm not having any problems with him. There is something about the smaller body that you'll kind of see you'll see like the seams and whatnot a little easier, but like I don't dislike this really at all. I think it's solid. I think it's solid. I think it works. I think it'll work perfectly for me. I don't think that I'm going to have a problem with it. Barry is not my Flash. Just a small thing to put out there. I like Barry. I'm fine with Barry. But I'm 41. Because of my age, when I look back and I think about it, I grew up with Wally. The Justice League cartoon that I watched, that was Wally. The comic books that I read, that was Wally. The JLA book that really made me like the Justice League, that was like my Justice League book for a good portion of the run. That was Wally. I was with Wally all the way up till right before the Blackest Night. Wally is my Flash. He's the one that I grew up with. He's the one that I remember in this suit. And while I really like, there's a couple of Wally costumes that I really like when he came back, like in Rebirth. This is actually how I see the Flash indefinitely. Be it Barry or Wally. And you wouldn't necessarily know which one of them is sitting in that costume right now. This is Barry, and that's fine. But yeah, not a big thing, but I kind of wanted to put it in there because I even remember having this argument a long while ago when my buddy kept telling me, oh yeah, Barry's my man, dude. Barry, I've always been a Barry fan. Barry all the way. Barry is the Flash, if you're asking me. Wally's just like the sidekick. And I remember I said, what makes you think that? Like, why? Why would you put Wally as the side character? And he said to me, because Barry's the one that we grew up with. That's the one I grew up with. And I said, you're a little younger than me. He said, yeah. How did you grow up with Barry? And he said, because Barry was like, he was everywhere, man. He was the one we grew up with. He was the original Flash. And I said, no. How did you grow up with Barry? And he's the one that specifically said to me, Barry was that was who the Flash was in the Justice League cartoon. And I said, no. He's like, yeah, he was. There's even that scene later on where all the Hawkmen or whatever take over the planet, and Batman specifically tells everybody, hey, we're going to have to go into our secret identities. And he's like, I don't know if I trust you guys like that. And then he's like, he just basically is like, Bruce Wayne, Clark Kent, Barry Allen. And I said, no, that's not what he said. He's like, no, I specifically remember. And I was like, watch it again, because you don't remember that. He was Wally West. That's who we grew up with. That's who was in our Justice League. That's who was in our comic books. That's who we grew up with. Unless you were going back to read older books, you didn't grow up with Barry. And it's just a weird thing. Like, there's a lot of people that I know that are in like my age group that swear they grew up with Barry. I don't know how they did that, because he was dead. I'm just saying, pretty dead. Anyways, guys, this doesn't blow my mind, but he's simple enough and the legs don't bother me. I got a Flash for the shelf, and I'm not mad about it. I'm gonna get out of here.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.